Level 40 cap is going to be probably the most fun time in Season of Discovery. We now have 5 usable runes, 31 talent points, and most of our spells available. Lots of dungeons and raids, outdoor PvP event with epic rewards, and many, many more. My guess is that you don't want to jump with a lack of knowledge in Phase 2, and because of that, today we're covering the Mage. We're going to go through best in slot items for Phase 2, professions, Arcane spec and runes, Fire spec and runes, and Frost spec and runes. Timestamps in the description down below. Make sure to leave a like if you want to see a full series for every class, and comment down below with which class you would like to see next. In my opinion, Arcane spec is going to be the best PV DPS spec in Phase 2, so let's see exactly why. Mostly because of the trio Arcane Power, Arcane Instability, and Presence of Mind, which is going to help with the short fights. So the best spec I see it is the 31 talent points into Arcane spec. We can't really go for a cookie cutter spec because we can't miss those good spells at the end. 2 points into Arcane Subtlety decreases the magical resistance of your target. 2 points into Arcane Hit, 4% is more than enough. We're gonna have World Buff Hit, and we're gonna have also Gear Hit. 5 points into Arcane Missiles, and I'm gonna show you soon why. We have a Concentration, Clear Cast, 5 points, 6% crit with Arcane Explosion. We have Arcane Meditation, 15% mana to continue regenerating while casting, and then we have Arcane Mind, 10% mana, which is going to be huge for this spec. Obviously, Presence of Mind, Arcane Instability, 3% crit, and Arcane Power, which is going to be awesome for the short fights to come. When it comes to runes in Phase 2, we have the same trio, Burnout, Living Flame, and Arcane Blast. Burnout, it's hard to say no to 15% crit. Living Flame, it's affected by the Arcane Blast damage increase. Arcane Blast is the best filler in game so far when it comes to quick damage. And then the new runes, which we have the Missile Barrage, gives your Arcane Blast a 40% chance and your Fireball and Frostbolt a 20% chance to reduce the channel duration of your next Arcane Missiles by 50% and reduce the mana cost by 100%. The missile will fire every 0.5 seconds. So this is gonna be huge because it's almost a half chance with Arcane Blast to trigger the free Arcane Missile. And on top of that, the foot rune, we have the Spell Power, which will increase our critical strike damage bonus for all the spells by 50%. I think there's nothing much to add to this spec, it's pretty much figured out. Maybe a little point there and then, but this is like a polished PV DPS spec. Hope you enjoyed. Now let's move to Fire. Fire is pretty much 31 points into Fire. We cannot afford the cookie cutter spec here as well. We have 5 points into Fireball, 0.5 seconds reduced cast time. Ignite with Flamethrowing, increase a bit the yards of the spells. We have 1 point into Incinerate for some extra crit with Scorch and Fire Blast. 1 point into Power Blast, we're gonna need this later, I'm gonna show you why. 70% chance not to lose casting, also reduces the threat of your fire spells. Master of Elements comes clutch to Phase 2, where you refund 30% of their base mana cost back when you crit. 2 points into Improved Scorch to apply some debuffs. 6% crit with Critical Mass. I took Blast Wave for fun. I mean, Blast Wave, it's a spell that, in my opinion, you must have, especially since I think you learn rank 2 at level 40 as well. It's definitely gonna be fun. Now we have 5 points into Firepower, 10% extra fire damage, which is quite huge, and obviously your good old Combustion, which is not that great in Classic, but it's still a spell that will help you get those ignites going on. Moving on to the runes, it's pretty straightforward. We're gonna have Burnout, Living Flame, and Living Bomb, the classic trio from the previous Fire spell. 15% crit with Fire, it's a must. Living Flame, it gives a good consistent amount of DPS. Living Bomb also explodes at the end and helps us with Hot Streak, which is the new rune in Season of Discovery. So Hot Streak, the same one that was brought from Wrath of the Lich King. Anytime you score 2 non-periodic critical strikes in a row using Fireball, Fire Blast, Scorch, or Living Bomb, your next Pyroblast within 10 seconds is going to be an instant cast. So this is where the damage will grow, and this is where we'll see like big ignites. I'm actually confused if Arcane or Fire is going to be better in Phase 2. On top of that, we have the Spell Power. The Spell Power, which increases the critical strike damage bonus of all spells by 50%. This will affect our the numbers of our ignites. This will affect the big crits of our Pyroblasts and our Fireballs. It's really hard to say which one is going to perform better, Arcane or Fire. My best guess is that it's Arcane because of the Arcane power, but let me know in the comments below which one you will play in Phase 2. Now let's move to the next one, which is the Frost spec. For the Frost spec, I tried to go for a cookie cutter spec, but I just couldn't sacrifice the Ice Block and the Ice Barrier and everything else that makes the Frost spec so comfortable. So I went for 6% hit into Frost and Fire spells with 2 Frost Warding because we're not going to use Frostbolt, 5 into Ice Shards, which gives us 100% critical strike damage bonus to our Frost spells, 2 into Improved Frost Nova, 1 into Cold Snap, and that because works with Icy Veins as well, and with Ice Block obviously, Piercing Ice 6% damage to our Frost spells, Arctic Reach to increase the range of our Frost spells, and Frost Channeling for 15% mana reduction and also less threat from spells. Ice Block into Improved Cone of Cold, this is a personal preferences, and I went for 5 out of 5 Winter's Chill. Although it's not required to go for 5-5, you can even go 3-5 and then use 2 other points somewhere else. Maybe not even use the Improved Cone of Cold and get a Shatter combo. Or if you want an AoE farm, you can get Permafrost with Improved Blizzard. There are ways around it. And I went obviously for Ice Barrier, which is gonna make sure this is gonna keep me alive in raids. For runes, it's pretty straightforward. We went for Burnout. 15% crit is just something we can't pass. It doesn't matter. This rune is just too good. Then we have Icy Veins. Icy Veins increases your cast spell by 20% for 20 seconds. But now we have Cold Snap and you can use it twice in a fight. It's going to be quite great. For the hand rune, I didn't know exactly what to go for. So I chose a Living Bomb simply to have more damage on the target. And also it can explode and do more damage. And then we have Frost Fire Bolt, which is gonna probably be a spell that scales at level 40. Fireball, which will be at level 36 spell. Frostbolt will be a level 38 spell. But this one will scale perfectly as a level 40 spell. On top of that, this one is going to benefit from 100% critical strike bonus. But also is going to benefit from the extra 50% critical damage bonus from the Spell Power rune, which is going to come on the boot slot. I think this potentially will have like a lot of crit from Winter's Chill, from the Burnout rune, and especially the crit strike damage bonus, which if you get a lucky situation where you crit a couple of times in a row, can do a lot of damage. Let me know how you feel about the Frost spec in the comments down below, because I'm actually curious about what you guys think about this. Let's go over the best in slot for Phase 2. The helmet slot is going to be Neurolinked Arcanofilament Monocle, made with tailoring, not engineering, not to be confused here. 10 stamina, 11 intellect, 22 spell power, and 4 MP5. The cool thing about this helmet is the use effect, where it gives you mana cost reduction for all spells by 50%, and also increases your damage and healing done by 50 for 12 seconds. On a 10-minute cooldown, it's going to be great for bursting out in the world, even in PvP or in raids. You must have tailoring for every caster. It's kind of a must. Necklace is going to be Piston Pendant. Really great itemization here. You have Stamina, Intellect, Spirit, and 9 Spell Power. Synthetic Mantle, 99 Armor, 8 Stamina, 9 Intellect. I think this is going to be the best in slot for all casters, so be ready to have some competition there. Bloodrot Cloak, 7 Stamina, 6 Intellect, 11 Spell Power. Really great cloak for level 40. And then we move into the Irradiated Robe, which is one of the 2 sets implemented into Phase 2 in No More. They have some weird stats with minus strength and 10 stamina, minus strength not to be used by druids, minus 10 stamina not to be used in PvP or farming overall. But the other stats, such as like the damage and healing and the crit stats and the bonus effects, are really great. So a lot of people will choose this to be their best in slot caster set. There is another option. There is a Hydroconductive set, which has more stamina, more armor, more intellect, but less crit and hit. Both of them are great. See what you can get on. If you're looking specifically for parsing, Irradiated is going to be best in slot. For Bracer, there are the Dryad Wrist Bindings from Warsong Gulch, but if you don't have Exalted Warsong Gulch, don't try too much. There is something called the Lew's Oil Stained Bindings, which has 5 stamina, 4 intellect, and 9 spell power. But also the PvP bracers give really good stats as well. So options you have, don't focus too much on getting the bindings. For weapons, we have the Glimmering Gizmo Blade one-hander with 19 spell power, and also the Mage Orb from the Mage quest. You can change the offhand with the Necro book, but this seems to be like Bis. If there's another staff with 20 spell power, but there's also the Rod of the Sleepwalker from BFD. I think, in my opinion, this is Bis because you can use the restore mana effect at least once every now and then, so pretty cool. Gloves, Dreamwave gloves so far. It seems like this will be Bis with 18 spell power. The belt is the Volatile Concoction belt, 1% heat and 12 spell power. We have the Irradiated pants. We have the Irradiated boots, which give a hit and 11 spell power, but don't rush too fast to get the set, as you will still have like the tailoring boots. If you have tailoring the old ones from level 25, they're still good at level 40. They have hit, spell power, and good stats. Moving on to rings, the hypercharged gear of Conflagration. You can only have one equipped, so this is the one with damage and healing. And then from the PvP event in Strangletorn Veil, 16 arcane damage spell, or 16 fire, or 16 whatever spec you play, frost, you can choose that. In case you don't want a PvP, there's always the Warsong Gulch Reputation Ring, which is quite easy to acquire. It has 9 spell power, 5 stamina, and MP5, really great. For trinkets, the Invoker's Void Pearl is still Bis. For phase 2, 11 spell power, but there's a new trinket in town, and that trinket is called Miniaturized Combustion Chamber, which has 6 intellect, 12 spell power. On top of that, it does have a random channel between 1 and 150 and 1 and 150 mana and health. Regenerates for 1 second every 10 seconds. It's usually going to be an average of 750 overall mana back and heal back. For the wand, you have the Mechanostrider Gear Shifter, which increases damage and healing done by magical spells and effects by 9. It's going to be Bis, but you can use your class one. You can choose one of Arcane, Fire, or Frost, based on which spec you play. Really good looking so far with the gear. There are a couple of changes, of course. You can change the stuff, but pretty much this is how it's gonna look. When it comes to professions, tailoring is gonna be just best in slot because of the new helmet, which gives awesome stats, but also a great on-use effect. Second profession will have one of the 3 choices. It's gonna be enchanting, alchemy, or engineering. I would say if you PvP a lot, I would say choose engineering. The gadgets and the nades just help you a lot. But if you plan to PvE between alchemy and enchanting, I would choose enchanting because it gives some sigils which give you a buff for 30 minutes that is going to give you extra 20 spell power. 20 spell power at level 40 is quite a lot. There's another option to get the mildly irradiated rejuvenation potion from alchemy, which I think is going to be Soulbond, but I'm not entirely sure yet. This one is going to give you spell power by 35 for 15 seconds. So it does make a lot of sense for PvE to get tailoring plus enchanting, and for PvP to get tailoring plus engineering. Level 40 will bless mages with a good amount of spells to use, starting with Scorch, which gets rank 4 at level 40. The portals for the major cities, at least 2 of them for each factions, but also the ability to teleport to Darnassus and Thunderbluff. If at phase 1 we didn't have a Cone of Cold, now we're getting not 1 but 2 ranks of Cone of Cold. It goes the same if at level 25 we didn't have a Mana Gem, now we're getting not 1 but 2 ranks of Mana Gem, one which restores 650 mana and one which restores 425. Mage Armor is going to come in clutch for that extra mana regen, and it's going to help you both with Arcane Spec. And speaking of Arcane Spec, Arcane Missiles rank 5 is going to be available at level 40. Another reason to think that Arcane is going to perform quite good in phase 2. Other than that, the level 35 water is going to be available at level 40, but unfortunately you're not going to be able to craft a lot of them, only 2 per craft, which is going to give you level 35 water, but I hope Blizzard has something special prepared for this, for our ability to share with the other people in the game our beautiful water. If you're looking to get into Season of Discovery or return to Wrath of the Lich King, level some new alts and so on, I highly recommend getting RestedXp add-on. The add-on is free with all its features, and the guides are available up to level 20, making your leveling fast but also efficient since now it incorporates rune guides. Is this add-on a necessity? Not necessarily. But if efficiency is your goal, RestedXp delivers. It has the potential to accelerate your leveling speed by 30 to 100%, ultimately saving you valuable playtime that could be better spent elsewhere. Personally, I also use it to quest for gold at max level in each phase because it gives me a good route to follow for maximum gold per hour. And if by any chance in the future you think about making an upgrade to a full version, use my code Frostadamus for 5% off. Links in the description down below. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, smash like. If you didn't, well, smash like anyway, because we're 15 minutes into the video and you're still here. If you're still here, that means you like my content. And if you want to see more of my content, check out my second channel, Frostadamus TV. There should be a link on the screen right now, or just look through the description of the video. You will find it easily there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. Until our next encounter, stay frosty.